Good evening. These are the stories making the headlines in the Hot 7 Nightly News.
New details emerged surrounding the mall shooting on Monday. The Grosley MP chimes in on the news of a Corinth secondary student coming to school with a gun and reportedly being allowed to keep it. The mayor urges citizens to focus on the good amid concerns about crime. We have the details of these stories and more coming up.
This is the Hot 7 Nightly News with Lovelace and Amy Joseph.
It is Tuesday, the 22nd of January 2019. Welcome to the Hot 7 Nightly News on Flow Channel 117 and on Kiss FM 105.5 and 105.9. I am Lovely St. Amy Joseph. Thank you for joining us. Kimran Clark, the young man who was shot on Monday afternoon, is still at hospital receiving treatment. He is in critical but stable condition in the ICU. According to our sources, there was no attempted robbery as being suggested on social media. Some reports indicated that Clark had gotten shot in the process of a robbery. According to our sources, the security guard and the young man knew each other very well. There was an alleged altercation between the two after the young man claimed he was being followed. Interestingly, we understand that there is video surveillance that can shed further light on the incident and is currently in the possession of police. Clark is an avid footballer. In fact, he landed in St. Lucia on Sunday evening after playing in Antigua before Football Scouts. We will have more details on this story as they emerge. Moving on. The Minister for Equity and Social Justice and also the Grosley MP, Leonard Spiderman Toot, has addressed the recent report of a fifth form student at the Corinth Secondary School bringing a firearm to the school grounds. The MP has expressed to Hot 7 News that the matter remains of great concern. He spoke with Solange Alfred.
The story of a mystery missing item from a fifth form Corinth Secondary School male student's bag, which turned out to be a gun, has spread like wildfire and created a stir throughout the island. Member of Parliament for Grosley, Leonard Spiderman Toot, explained that since all pieces of this puzzle have not been fitted together, the jury is still out. However, he remains confident that the Ministry of Education will investigate the legitimacy of the report and take the necessary action.
I heard of the incident in the news. I do not know the details of this incident, but from my understanding, the matter is being investigated. I'm sure the Ministry of Education will take the necessary measures necessary. And like I said, I do not want to make any comment as such without knowing the details. But I think just looking at it from the surface, I think it's unfortunate when we have situations such as this. And I hope that the school authorities, the Ministry of Education can get to the bottom of this, and that we can find a way to discourage such situations, because this could be a very dangerous situation.
According to Minister for National Security, Hermangild Francis, who addressed the situation at a recent press sit-down, he stated that although he was not aware of the situation, that in a case like this one, collaboration with the Royal St. Lucia Police Force should have been the first line of action taken.
If you don't cooperate with the police and you have all the information, then you could be an accessory before or after the fact. And if the evidence is there, I am sure that the police can hold whoever handled that gun and return the weapon to that boy. There are offenses in the criminal code that you can deal with.
Without further information, both ministers expressed the same sentiments, that the situation is a worrying one which requires further investigation. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Solange Alfred.
Thank you, Solange. The Ministry of Education has confirmed that it is looking into the incident at the Corinth Secondary School, where it is alleged that a student came to school with a gun in his possession. The ministry says it will not rush to judgment or speak prematurely on the matter, as the Chief Education Officer is awaiting a full report from the school's principal and the teacher, who, according to a local report, was a central figure in the matter. The student was allegedly allowed to keep the gun that he brought to school. The minister within the Ministry of Tourism says crime is not endemic to St. Lucia, and in the case of Bob Hathaway, it is important that this is reflected through responsible journalism. Rochelle Gonzalez reports.
With the homicide of British national Robert Hathaway still a major talking point in and out of St. Lucia, the question of whether the St. Lucian tourism sector will be greatly affected. Following Hathaway's death on Sunday the 13th of January, the British media proceeded to taint the island's name and reputation, insinuating that St. Lucia was a dangerous tourist destination with a dismal justice system. On Tuesday morning, Minister within the Ministry of Tourism, Fortuna Belrose, said crime of this manner is sure to cause effects.
I think any death in any society would affect the society at large. And when it happens to somebody who's been in St. Lucia for a number of years, whether they were German, English, you name it, it would affect anything. It would affect how we look as a nation. I think the important thing is how well we respond as a country, you understand, to those issues, how well we resolve the crime. And so I think with our government, what we are attempting to do is to ensure that we provide the attention that is necessary to deal and address the issues that plague us. The case of Bob Hathaway is one of many that we have to resolve as a country. And I think the onus is on all of us as citizens to ensure that we rally and try to make sure that such situations do not happen.
Belrose tasked local journalists with disseminating responsible and positive reports with respect to St. Lucia. When asked whether she thinks diplomatic relations between St. Lucia and the UK will be affected, Belrose said this is unlikely, especially since crime is everywhere.
I don't think so. I think in the age where you have diplomacy and dialogue, that's what really matters. The constant engagement, getting people on all sides to understand the issues that prevail. Because crime happens anywhere. Everywhere in the world crime happens. And so it's important that we continue to dialogue and maintain our relations because it's not targeted. It's a situation where, somebody's life was lost. And we've had many, who have gone that way. In 2 years ago, I think the murder rate was up to 60. Last year it was down to 42. And so the object is what are we doing to ensure that we don't have that situation continuously. And this is where we are, trying to solve the problem as opposed to, propelling it, you understand, in the international arena.
Belrose said now is the time to put up a united front. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I'm Rochelle Gonzalez.
An attempt to change the current landscape of unsuccessful male youth in St. Lucia has brought on the inaugural launch of Our Boys Matter program. The pilot program, which is sponsored by Massey Stores and Lucilec, looks to empower males through alternative pathways of education. Solange Alfred reports.
The St. Lucia Social Development Fund has launched its pilot program called Our Boys Matter. The launch, which took place on Tuesday, 22nd January 2019 at the CDF conference room, was attended by government officials, members of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force, councillors, teachers, and participants of the pilot project. Program consultant Fortuna Anthony highlighted the issues that plague young men of St. Lucia and the importance of the launch of Our Boys Matter program.
There are many or numerous contributory factors. Research records that children who live in poverty, who lack strong and positive parental guidance, positive role models at home and in their communities, and who do not experience success at schools are more prone to become disruptive and dysfunctional citizens. Here in St. Lucia, we heard a daily cry of concern about the premature death of our young males. We are here, no doubt, ladies and gentlemen, because you, as well as all of us, wish to be part of the positive change which this program hopes to achieve in the lives of our males.
Principal of the Sir Stanley John Odlum Secondary School, Neil Fontenelle, stated that the success of the program will rely on its longevity and sustainability. He added that the key stakeholders and sponsors like Lucilec and Massey Stores play an impactful role in ensuring that young men grow up to be productive members of society.
We must bear in mind that the strategies which worked with us may not all work with the millennials. Therefore, we must be innovative and creative in our approaches to disciplining the youth while being tolerant of the inquisitive nature. I look forward to a sustained partnership with SSDF and the other stakeholders who are and will be part of Boys Matter.
On hand was Executive Director of CARE, Dr. Colleen Mason, who expressed that the decline in success of young men has created a catalyst for change in the form of edu-social development, which she noted is an alternative path to education.
This program focuses on the spiritual, the physical, the intellectual. It focuses on the creative, the emotional, and the social aspects of the individual. So you can see if that was indeed done, then our youth, and especially in this instance, our boys, would then have received an holistic development opportunity.
Both Lucilec and Massey Stores managing directors were present to hand over 2 separate checks valued at $50,000 each. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Solaj Alfred.
Castries Mayor Peterson Francis is calling for the masses to focus on the good in St. Lucia rather than focusing on the negative where crime is concerned. He says too much emphasis is being placed on sensationalizing even small negatives. Rochelle Gonzalez reports.
The mayor of Castries, Peterson Francis, is calling on persons to take the good with the bad where crime is concerned and focus on the successes rather than the failures. Mayor Francis said there has been major headway in terms of solving crime in St. Lucia, yet this information is placed on the back burner whilst violence is sensationalized.
St. Lucian's memory is only far when things are not good, when things are bad. We only had last year where every cruise liner and agent in St. Lucia said for a long time, or they can't remember, that they had no complaints, none whatsoever as far as the tourists were concerned. I'm talking about a cruise ship thing and so on. But we have forgotten about that. We expect things to happen. And when things happen other places, overseas, in the big countries and so on, these things are natural. We expect them to happen.
Mayor Francis said he is in no way encouraging the crime situation. He said when it comes to cases involving British nationals like Roger Pratt, it is important that they are recognized as active cases rather than cold.
If we look at the cases that have involved British people, that is with the murder and so on, apart from the latest one, it is in train. It has reached a certain stage. I mean, get from the commissioner, get from the DPP to find out what is the stage. They are not cold cases. These are active cases. And I know that some of the perpetrators are at border right now, awaiting trial. They are there. So while we are blaming the police and blaming the mayor and blaming the national security minister, there is a department that sees about the prosecution. Right? And the other thing that is happening to us, see how lenient these magistrates and these judges are being on these people. What do we expect? And then we have a situation where people have been bailed, right, for $3,000. And they go out there, they are out there committing greater crimes. We have to look at these things. These are things that we have to look at. And do not say what that one is doing, what the national security is doing, what the commissioner, what the mayor is doing. But we never go back and say, but last year, see the report we got.
While St. Lucia, he said, is no heaven, St. Lucians cannot expect fixes and results overnight. He said St. Lucia does not belong to one person, and so tackling the crime issue should be everyone's priority and not just the government's. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Rochelle Gonzalez.
This is the Hot 7 Nightly News. When we come back, countering human trafficking, getting domestic violence victims a place to call home. And a colleague weighs in on Minister Fede's approach to the media. Stay with us. There's more news after the break.